Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Derek Chisora has been confirmed to face Otto Wallin in February 2025 in a fight that has been dubbed The Last Dance, and that is a reference to Derek Chisora's last fight in the United Kingdom. So this card headlined by Chisora, and who would have thought he'd be headlining in 2025, this will be in Manchester. So what we'll do is we'll go to the press release first and then a few thoughts, because this is not necessarily the easiest matchup for Derek Chisora stylistically. Remember, Derek Chisora was meant to be facing Jarrell Miller, but that got taken off the table pretty late in the piece, and as Otto Wallin revealed at the press conference for this fight when it was announced, that it effectively got made in a day. And given that Wallin is coming off a loss to Anthony Joshua, this sort of opponent is the sort of perfect level I think he would be wanting to step back into to test himself and show the world what he's all about. So first though, we'll get to the press release and then a few thoughts. So we'll just skip past all the initial details, which I noted it said that Otto Wallin's step-up fight against Tyson Fury was in 2015, so they're a few years out there, but anyway, that's by the by. So Derek Chisora, he says ahead of his 49th professional fight, "I've had some amazing nights in Manchester, both in the ring and in the warehouse rave, so it was only right I had one last dance up north. Come February 8th, I'm going to be bringing war to Wallin and ready for my penultimate showreel knockout." And Otto Wallin, he says, "I think it's a great fight at the right time for me. I'm looking forward to fighting in Manchester. I know I'm walking into the Lion's Den, but I will be ready for it, and I'm ready to get the victory." So you have Frank Warren saying, "This is a heavyweight fight. I expect it to deliver in a big way. Obviously, Derek needs absolutely no introductions and fully deserves such a showpiece occasion on a magnificent stage against a top-class contender. He has stated that he wants to hit half a century of fights and that he wants one of his final two to be in Manchester, so we are delighted to make this possible for him and to stage our first promotion at the impressive Co-op Live Arena, and I hope it will be packed out for Derek's 49th fight. Otto has been on the brink of heavyweight glory before and backs himself to return to the top table. Unfortunately, he just didn't get going when he got his big shot against Anthony Joshua, so this presents a major opportunity for Otto to put himself back at the forefront of what is a booming division." Certainly what Wallin will be hoping for, and we'll come to that in a moment, but there has been a press conference, Derek Chisora employing his ever-consistent brand of pressure and psychological warfare on his opponent, and he did get Otto Wallin, he was trying to press him to say, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to beat me? And he did say that he thought he was going to stop Derek Chisora. And I'm not believing that for a second. I don't think this fight is going to end by a stoppage. I think it's going to be a distance fight. One, because Wallin's got a decent chin, but I think we are going to see a brand of fighting from Wallin that he has employed before and successful against opponents where he has been the taller man, where he utilizes the ring and he's able to effectively employ his movement and basically pick up points boxing on the back foot. That effectively is his bread and butter. So what we saw against Anthony Joshua was a pretty disappointing effort for Otto Wallin, and he sort of shrugged it off early in this press conference for the Derek Chisora fight. But I think many of us were pretty surprised how poor he actually was in that fight. Frank Warren says he didn't really get going, and that's a huge understatement. Whether it was the occasion or the fact that he's just not as effective against opponents that are a little bit longer than him in terms of reach and certainly in height a little bit taller, but he was not able to really do much with Anthony Joshua. And as soon as he started to take some shots, the jab was coming in and Joshua started to land a few power shots. Otto Wallin did not look very good at all. In the end, what was it, over in 5 rounds, and it looked like his team pulled him out a little bit prematurely, but it was going all one way, and it was basically all Joshua all the time. But against Derek Chisora, what we have is Otto Wallin being 6'5". Derek Chisora, while he's listed, I mean, it sort of varies between 6'1" and 6'4". He is closer to 6'1", 6'2". I think this is a much tougher matchup. The matchup that they could have had with Jarrell Miller was going to be a very fan-friendly one. As I understand, it relates to some legal action that Miller's former promoter, Dimitri Salita, has against Jarrell Miller. So that's going to preclude him, or precluded him, from being made in this fight. Obviously, Otto Wallin is not a bad substitute, but it's a very different style matchup. And what I could see is Derek Chisora following Otto Wallin around the room, and if a ring, I should say. And if it's anything similar to the Murat Gassiev fight, let's face it, Chisora and Gassiev roughly about the same height. You had Gassiev tracking around, not able to cut off the ring, and effectively Wallin circling, boxing, having a few flurries here and there, standing in, trading a little bit, but for the most part, boxing smart, boxing off the back foot, and playing the percentages. And I think we'll see that sort of strategy employed again. It's been effective before, especially against an opponent that's roughly of the same height as Derek Chisora, who himself, Chisora, is not great at cutting off the ring. But what we do know for Derek Chisora is he will keep coming. Sure, he might only have 3-4 good rounds in him where he's really at sort of full clip, but what we are going to see is him keep coming. He will fight tired, and it will present some opportunities later in the fight against Otto Wallin, who he does tire late in fights. He does seem to be more catchable from about rounds 9 to rounds 12. So it's going to be something for Derek Chisora where he's really going to have to come in tip-top shape. And I was thinking, actually, when I saw the face-off for Wallin and Chisora at the press conference, and I thought Chisora, and you look at him here, I thought he looks all ready to be in good condition. And if he's going to be fighting someone who's going to be a mover and who's going to be tricky, he is going to have to be in tip-top condition. But I did think, remember the last time I think that Chisora faced someone who was sort of the similar style was Agit Cabello, who I think is maybe the most like-for-like in terms of, that boxing move that Chisora is probably going to face on February the 8th. And Cabello just cantered to a victory. This was, in 2017, and that was for, the European title. It was a pretty comfortable win for Cabello, and Chisora just really wasn't able to do much with him in terms of cutting off the ring or really getting to him. So I think Otto Wallin and his team know what they need to do against this sort of opponent. It's not a guy who's taller than him and Anthony Joshua and is going to be able to, reach him and catch him with jabs and power punches the same way that Chisora can't because of, the height and reach differences. So it's a very different fight, and while Wallin, his stock is down because of that effort against Joshua, which was pretty poor, it was almost like he was either overawed or just, the occasion got the better of him, or just because of Joshua and what he brings, it was so different. He was so overmatched. I don't know, but it was such a failure to launch situation for Wallin that it was almost shocking in a sense. But I don't think against Chisora, who is, we have to say, while he's springing some upsets, he still is pretty far removed from his prime. But still, Chisora is a tough night's work for anyone. And he's able to get into the heads of opponents, and we've seen that before. And, trying at the press conference, he was with Otto Wallin with some of his chat and, trying to taunt him, how are you going to do stuff to me? And also, they have had a gloves are off style, session that will come out as well, as you can see here. And I guess this sort of, personifies Chisora's sort of, the way that he likes to try to get into the minds of his opponents. He is a master at, chat and being able to get under the skin of his opponents. But I do think that Wallin, and he looks relatively confident here in this photo, he will like the style matchup for himself. What he did against Murat Gassiev last year and what he's done against some other opponents, he will try to replicate. And because Chisora is sort of in that wheelhouse where he should be able to control him at range, he's the taller fighter with the height and the reach difference. And this whole thing about stopping Chisora, I'm not buying it at all. Otto Wallin couldn't punch his way out of a wet paper bag. He is not going to stop Derek Chisora, but I could see him peppering him. But I guess in the UK, will they reward Wallin for the sort of back foot effort? Because if you make a little bit of a comparison, someone like a Hughie Fury hasn't always got the rub of the green for what is sometimes seen as a negative sort of style that's being employed. And sometimes someone like a Derek Chisora, if he's the one tracking forward, he's being the ring general to some extent, bringing pressure, you might, get a few judges rewarding that a bit more. And it's a home fight. Chisora's the A side. Is this going to be a little bit more of a tougher equation than just Wallin trying to box, move, circle, and pick up points round after round? Could end up being one of those fights where it looks a certain way, but it's a lot closer. But I don't mind the fight. I think it's quite good. But, I know that they're saying Derek Chisora wants to have his 50th fight in Africa. We'll have to see what happens with that. He's got to get through this one. But stylistically, not the easiest matchup, and could they have gone with someone else? But it sounds like, obviously, with Miller sort of being out of the equation, Wallin was drafted in at somewhat short notice. They obviously had to announce an opponent to get training camps underway, because February's not that far away. At the time of recording, only a couple of months away. So these guys need to get in, and with Christmas ahead and other bits and pieces, they'll be training hard. I like this fight. I would sort of slightly favour Wallin in this one, but as we've seen, you cannot write Chisora off at all. He has been a chameleon. He's got that sort of MMA style record. Fans love him. We reward him for his effort, and we want to see him keep fighting if he's continuing to put up performances where maybe he's not at his best anymore, but he's still always giving it his all and every ounce of effort. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.